been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok, and flat out deceived.
I want some of your brown I want some of your brown
Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. This is Brownsugar Commentary and I'm your girl, Kayla. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe for more videos about Black culture, Black entertainment, and all things pop culture. Okay, so today I want to talk to you guys about something that has been trending in social media, like whatever, for the past couple of days, but I wanted to take a new angle on it. And for me, because I don't necessarily cover like those types of things that are going on, but wanted to do it through like an entertainment lens, because I often think that what's going on in real life is reflected in entertainment and vice versa. So we're going to be talking about struggle love and Black women, because what I find, especially in the two instances that's been that's been in the media in the past couple of days, is that Black women are the ones that have to face the burden of struggle love. This whole, you can call it struggle love, you can call it ride or die mentality, hold you down mentality, all of these things, most of the time, not all the time, but majority, a good 99.9% of the time, it is a Black woman making some sacrifice or putting up with a certain behavior or making her, disrespecting her own boundaries to make a man feel comfortable. That's just what the hell it is. Like, right? So first things first, what exactly is struggle love? We hear it, we use it kind of colloquially, you know what I mean, when we hear it, when we say that phrase. And basically, if you look at, I was reading this article called Let's Stop Encouraging Struggle Love on blackdoctor.org, and the way that they define it is basically referring to a relationship where one partner experiences long-term stress as a result of the other partner's actions or inactions during their relationship. And so, I mean, we've seen struggle love in real life. Maybe you've been in a struggle love relationship. Maybe you've seen it with your parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, friends. We have seen it time and time again. But like I said, for the purpose of this video, we're going to kind of show it how struggle love has almost been not like kind of glorified, or like it's been on display, and almost, like I said, for the sense of entertainment for the past couple of like decades now. Movies and television, for black movies and television are synonymous with struggle love. Like, you know it, I know it, we know it, okay? Fictional characters, fictional couples that we quoted, we shipped as goals, are actually a hot flipping mess. And that's exactly why I'm going to be starting a series on this channel called It's the Audacity for Me, where we go back at some of those relationships and friendships as well to really evaluate how good they truly were. Because at the time, I know for a lot of us, if you're a millennial or like you're like late Gen Z, like, you know what I mean, like born in late 90s, early 2000s, you grew up watching a lot of these 90s sitcoms and early 2000 sitcoms. And like I said, we were like little kids when this was going on. So we didn't really know nothing about nothing. But like I said, growing up, you get older, you're like, this ain't it. But yeah, so struggle love, a good example of struggle love in a movie would be Baby Boys, Yvette, and Jody. So Jody was basically a man-child. That's hence the name of this movie. And he had nothing really going for himself. Like, the potential, I guess, was there, but like, he had 2 kids by 2 different women. He still lived with his mother. He had no, concrete job, and he was doing Yvette foul. He was cheating on her. He was not really doing her right. He was just stringing her along a lot of the time, driving her car, like just doing nonsense. And it's crazy because you look at Yvette, and Yvette is this girl that had everything together. She had her own place, she had her own car, she had her own job, and she was loyal to Jody despite his multiple transgressions against her. And and they had a quite unhealthy relationship, toxic if you want to call it that. I know people don't really like that word, but that's essentially what toxic means, unhealthy. And we've seen them even like to the point where he hit her at one point. And in the end, because she stayed down, because she held him down, in the end, she was rewarded with commitment from him, right? He decided to finally man up, so to speak, and, do the good thing. And I guess they got married, I'm assuming. I can't remember, despite the billions of times I've seen that movie on flipping BT. But yeah, so, they get together, and I think he got pregnant again. And so like we hope that things got better, but most of the time it doesn't. Like, marriage does not solve everything, nor do children. But that is just one of the many examples of struggle love in media. And then late 2000s into the early 2010s, we get the wonderful thing called reality TV, okay? Because really with reality TV, it's a form of media, right? It's a form of fiction, so to speak. But then obviously these are real life people that like, they're not playing, they might be, you know, playing up for the cameras, but these are people, those are their names or their stage names or whatever. And we are watching them and their life play out, especially early, like, reality TV. Like now everything seems super fake and scripted, but like that first season of Love and Hip Hop, that was real. That was authentic. There are probably very few scripted moments, fake moments, or dramatized moments for the sake of entertainment. Like these people knew nothing about reality TV in this way, and they were just kind of freestyling it. And so I bring up Love and Hip Hop because that was literally the epicenter for struggle love, right? Like, who can forget the flipping firestorm that was Jimmy and Chrissy, right? And once again, we see this Black woman who has been with this man for X amount of years, even before, you know, he was Jim Jones. And like the first season of Love and Hip Hop, he was at the height of his career. Like he was very well, at least in the, you know, in New York, he's real like royalty, you know what I mean? So we see this relationship and this woman begging for marriage from this man, begging for this long-term, deeper relationship so that she doesn't feel like she's wasted all the time that she's invested. And throughout the seasons, this woman is so, you know, you see she becomes so desperate that she proposes to him. And I'll tell you this right now, if y'all see me proposing to no man, call for help because I need it. Like, I would rather box braid grass before I get on one knee and whatever. Like, I am a womanist, feminist, whatever you want to call it, but that's one part of patriarchy I do subscribe to. You will be getting on now and need to bury me, okay? Not doing that. But all in all, you see, like I said, Chrissy, and then eventually, as time gone on, she eventually just stopped asking for marriage from this man and accepting the fact that it's just never gonna happen. And yes, I think he eventually proposed back, but it was this back, like this, she wanted to have, and you can see as time going on, like they're not married right now. And that was over a decade this first season happened. But it's the same thing. Like, you having to deal with all this BS and think you're going to be rewarded with this ring and this marriage, and then it doesn't even happen. Like, she didn't even get the ring in the end. And you could even talk about Emily. And remember Emily, those first couple of seasons of Love and Hip Hop, where she was talking about Fab, and Fab didn't even show up on the show. I don't think he showed up for one season. And she had to deal with, you know, side chicks and people basically trying to say that she was lying and all these things, until it wasn't until really a couple of years ago that Fabulous started taking pictures with her and being with her publicly, because she's trying to rebrand as a family member. Like, it is what it is. And I mean, of course, there's a whole domestic situation with that, but she is still with him. And much like Jimmy and Chrissy, they're not married either. And even with her, she has a daughter who's with G Herbo. And didn't G Herbo cheat on her? Like, so it's this cycle. So not only are you participating in this unhealthy relationship, now your daughter, who has witnessed you doing that, is doing kind of the same thing. So it's just like, we've seen this play out, like I said, seasons upon seasons of Love and Hip Hop. And why we were so invested was because this was the first time we got to see quote unquote celebrities or well-known people, you know, in these relationships. And like I said, 90% of them were struggling. They were toxic. We see women in love triangles taking men back after we know that they're no good for them. And even with someone like a Taro, who, like I said, like a Chrissy, like a Emily, had babies with a man who had disregarded all self-respect for her, and went on with the side piece and got married to said side piece. So you didn't even get the ring. And she was so proud to, you know, engage with Amina and be like fighting her about it, even though Amina don't know her from nowhere. And, you know, talking about, well, he gets to do this with me every night. But at the end of the day, you know, he's disrespecting the both of y'all. So who really wins? You know what I mean? And so that's kind of where it is. Every time you see these reality shows, whether it's Love and Hip Hop, even basketball wise to an extent, or a marriage boot camp, it is these black women, because most of these casts are predominantly black women with these black men, most of them rappers, producers, men in, large spaces with means to an extent, and they're taking advantage of them because, like I said, they have means and these women usually don't, unless they are like, women of means in them, like themselves, and they are struggling. It's a struggle. And so, like I said, for us, the people who are watching this, yes, we're getting a kick out of it because it's funny, because sometimes we know more than the woman knows at the time, but a lot of us are quick to call these women stupid for taking these men back. But in real life, a lot of women are doing the exact same thing. Like, everyone's a critic, everyone can point the finger and laugh, but a lot of us participate in this struggle love narrative. And then it goes even further. It's like I said, especially with Instagram and the rise of stuff like the Shade Room and Baller Alert, who every narrow second is telling us who unfollowed who, who's with who did they spot with who on the Insta story. I don't even know how they do that. But when we are exposed to things like that, like I said, we see in real time the timeline of a relationship. We see from when they get together, from they in the DMs or the likes, to the time they go on the vacation, to the time the first cheating scandal, second cheating scandal, third cheating scandal. Like, we know it all. And for me, like I said, every single time it is always a man, with a woman just doing her dirty. And like I said, it's like with these women, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because think about Cardi B and Offset. They have been on and off nearly just as long as they've been married. And like I said, every time he's in some cheating scandal, and usually he's really sloppy with it, so we know exactly where he was at and what he was doing. There's no denying it was him. We judge Cardi, right, for taking him back. We're like, oh, you're getting a divorce, not getting a divorce. You stupid. You see this man don't love you. He don't disrespect. He's keeping disrespecting you and whatever. But then when we talk about him, Cardi comes back at us and is like, oh, why are you talking about my man and my marriage? And so with that situation, it just shows you that these women are deep in it. And like I said, when it comes to marriage and stuff like that, I'm not married, so I don't know what that's like. I don't know, what that is really about. But for me, it just feels like a lot of these women feel trapped. I think it's like, I'm with this man, I already have kids with this man, I already given X amount of years, like I said, and they think that some form of loyalty will eventually, like them holding them down, riding for them or whatever, is going to give them some reward, because history has kind of shown that. Something I found interesting was a post I remember a couple of years ago. I think it was Snoop Dogg that posted this. It was Gucci Mane and Keisha Kaur, and because they're one of those people that people consider hip-hop royalty and goals. And he posted something like this. Listen to this. Everybody wants this, but what y'all forget that she was with Wild Gucci, on drugs Gucci, cheating Gucci, in jail Gucci, publicly with other women Gucci. This is Gucci after therapy, rehabilitation. This is a street man groomed in his 30s after he's been at his lowest point. At his lowest. Point is, this is a writer who knew what she signed up for. You, B words, is the next nigga after a couple of fights. So this, like, it encapsulates ride or die culture, hold you down culture, struggle love more than anything else. Because what this post is saying, and this is out of a rapper's mouth practically, and Snoop Dogg another conversation another day, child, but it is definitely how a lot of these men's mindset are. Like, these men will, like I said, in their young years, sow their royal oats, go be with this one, that one, and the third, have a baby with this woman so they can tie her down. And then, like I said, play with her emotions, emotionally manipulate her, and while they go gallivant. And then after they put them through years of emotional abuse and like them, derailing their self-esteem essentially. Now, when you're 30 and you're, no longer wanting to go wild out, or you're maybe not at the height of your stardom anymore, you want to settle down and you want to get loyalty. And so a lot of women are anticipating that day because we've seen, oh, it worked for her, so it has to work for me. And that should never be the case. That should never be the case. You should never have to prove your loyalty to someone, because I bet you anymore, like I said, if these women were doing the same thing, these men would be upset. They would be upset. And then we get into now, right? Read this from a great article that I saw about struggle love on Medium. I have like the name of the article and stuff, so I can't remember the writer's name. But basically she says, Black women are constantly told that we should ask for little and accept even less. We're labeled gold diggers and social climbers if we dare desire partners who are providers, something women of other nationalities and races have done and continue to do for the betterment of future generations. And we're regularly told that the things that we desire, like marriage, are out of reach, out of touch, or simply out of our league. Black women are constantly bombarded with statistics and studies proclaiming that we're marrying less frequently, marrying less stably, divorcing more commonly than our peers. And the underlying suggestion is that we should lower our expectations if we hope to find and keep a man. And this is reflected in Black media, Black film, Black television, and Black music. The ride or die chick isn't a myth. She's a grown woman now. She's our aunties, our cousins, our mothers, and truthfully, she's some of us. She's the caveat to every 20-year dead-end relationship, the exception to every rule. She's the pinnacle of holding a man down, devoting her life to proving her worthiness to a person who has chosen not to see it, only to finally have all her resilience pay off in the final hour. And when the man finally comes around and gives her what she's been waiting for all along, it will be a result of his deflated perception of himself, not because of an inflated perception of her. A man who waits until his health has run out to commit to you is asking you to fulfill vows that he himself isn't capable of fulfilling. Marriage doesn't just mean help me get through my worst, it means benefit from me for my best. And so I bring that up because, like I said, it is almost this expectation of us that we need to just settle and just deal with whatever we got to deal with. Like, we have to take the good man. Like, oh yeah, he's a provider. He may be good looking or whatever. Maybe not even good looking, just he's a good provider. And leave it at that. Okay, he cheat on the side a little bit. Deal with it, right? Like, what else are you gonna do? Especially, like I said, these women who have been with certain men for like most of their 20s and maybe even into their 30s now, or they have kids with them or whatever. They're not gonna leave because it's not that easy. And like I said, when the world tells you your options are already limited as it is, we're whatever. And so now when we get into Saweetie and Quavo, okay, and people were already ready to throw Saweetie under the bus because they thought she cheated or she did something disrespectful. All these men were going to bat for Quavo because she was on that whatever show with Justin and Justin, okay, one of them being one of her ex-boyfriends. And because the nature of the conversations were a bit like kind of sexual, the questions were sexual, and some people were alleging that they were flirting. I didn't get that vibe, but it is what it is. But people were already like, well, Saweetie's out of line for that. She shouldn't be doing that, blah, blah, blah. And then when she came out and tried to defend herself, because that's essentially why she made that post, we find out that he was cheating. And one, people were trying to make excuses, or people were like trying to say, well, that's what you get, da, 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 da. Like, and it's just like, and then even him was like trying to come at her talking about some, oh, you're not the one that I thought you were. I think what that meant was he thought that she was going to sit there and hold him down. That's what I think that's what that means. Like, this not the narrative we were supposed to do. You were supposed to hold me down. That's what I was promised. And maybe even because she said, okay, buy me this, buy me that, and maybe I'll stay, and she didn't do that, his ego is even more hurt because he did these very grand gestures that we were all witnessing in front of everyone, and he feels like, well, damn, like, you didn't even keep up your end of the bargain, even though it shouldn't be no bargain. You should just be a faithful person. And like I said, a lot of men think that they should be rewarded for a lot of bare minimum, including being faithful. Even on that same podcast she was on, and they were talking about the whole threesome thing. You're like, oh, well, if your man's being a good man, he should be rewarded. Like, I'm never gonna applaud a fish for swimming, sweetie. Like, please, if you think that you should get rewarded for not cheating on your girlfriend or your wife, you are sad. The bar is in hell. The bar is in hell. Like, but that's one thing, right? The Saweetie and Quavo thing where she chose to walk away and people had things to say. A lot of people applauded her, but even men were like, oh, she corny for the take care thing, blah, 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 blah. I said, but y'all be applauding the future for doing the same thing. Like, didn't he say something similar to some girl that he had stranded somewhere? Like, y'all be calling him Toxic King for treating women like crap. But then when Sierra got better and with Russell, I could call him Russell Wilson, y'all constantly call him corny for just being a good dude. Like, it makes no sense. If y'all don't like women, just say that. But then it's the same thing with this Derrick Jaxn thing that's really upsetting, or it's kind of unfortunate, because even with the wife, while the jokes are funny, it's just like with her, people were so quick to talk about the woman's looks and oh, she has a bonnet on. instead of really getting to what it is. Like, this man publicly embarrassed her. He made a whole brand off of acting like he's some good man while keeping her out of the public eye, whether that be to help promote said brand or just for privacy reasons. We don't really know. But he kept her out the public eye, and the first time we see her is for some BS. And then, like I said, instead of y'all taking that energy and taking it to this cornball, y'all are there talking about her looks and she should have wore this and that. And it's like, that's not even the point. Like, that's not even the point. Like, obviously, for some of us, maybe we wouldn't have worn no bonnet and the breastplate or like this, whatever, like she said. But beyond that, like, y'all are focused on shaming her when there's really a legit issue going on here. She's being emotionally manipulated, and clearly something is wrong, because she's just, the things that she's been putting on social media, even the way she was answering some of these questions, like I said, and even her talking and trying to explain why she has what she has on, it's just, what, girl, what? And so with that situation, it's just like another form of struggle love, because there will be the people that are going to praise her for being strong and keeping him and whatever. And there's going to be the people who, like I said, clowning her and whatever. And yes, some of these things she's making a plum fool of herself, but at the same time, it's just like, she probably feels desperate. Like, she feels that this is all, like, the best that I can do. Where can I go now? Like, I just gotta double down and stand by my man, I guess. Like, and so, like I said, we're so quick to judge women for the things that they put up with, don't put up with it. It's even like taking it to someone like Paige on Married at First Sight. If you have not watched my videos on Married at First Sight, definitely check it out. But even with her, it's the same issue of her staying with a man who clearly wants nothing to do with her, or just using her for the occasional sex now and then, just because she wants to be married, just because she thinks that if she remains humble and meek and mild-mannered, that somehow this man's gonna wake up one day and be like, oh, you know what, we are married, let me treat you right. And too often, like I said, we've been told to settle, and we've seen this play out both fictionally and in real life, and it just kind of sucks, because I want better for us. Like I said, I honestly think some of these celebrity couples are in open marriages, quiet as it's kept, because there's no way that some of these men are that bold. Because for maybe some people, cheating is not a deal breaker. And if cheating is not a deal breaker for you, then more power to you. Of course, people are going to judge anyway, because most people, cheating is a deal breaker. But if it's not, more power to you. But for these women, that they're making it seem is that it is a deal breaker and trust was broken. And even for a lot of women, it's a don't ask, don't tell policy. I'm not going to ask you if you're cheating. So long as you're not doing it in my face, I don't care. But I think it's time for us to want better for ourselves. It's time for us to stop, you know, stop being ride or dies. Because where are we riding to? Please, like, I'm tired of it. Especially for men who are not going to do the same in return. Like I said, if Saweetie, if Derrick Jaxn, whatever his name is, if his wife, or even Cardi B, or any of those other women that have been in situations where the men were doing them low down and dirty, if they were doing the same thing, best believe they would have left the first thing smoking, because men are taught that they have options. They have nothing but options, and options are always going to be there. So I can drop you and find another one in 2.5 seconds. And so it's time for us to do the same. Like, I just want, and that's kind of where I want to, like, bring the whole thing. It's just, I want better for us. I want better for us, definitely in movies, because in TV shows for sure. I told y'all, I'm not here for the struggle love stories. It's just like Queen and Slim, struggle love written all over it. Like, please, like, not even love, it's struggle like they were struggling to like each other, okay? And like I said, too many times we have normalized and even glorified struggle love stories, when really it's sad. Like, what good is a title if you're miserable? What good is being whatever, or having a man, or being married, if you're miserable? It makes no sense. And so that's just kind of what I wanted to talk about, is just, you know, talking about both fictional and real examples of struggle love, and how we need to stop investing in that and thinking that holding some man down or trying to be tested for loyalty or whatever is gonna somehow make things better, when all it does is make things worse and prolong the leaving process, because eventually these women do leave and worn out. Like, so that's just what it is. Let me know what you think about all the mess that is going on with the Derrick Jaxn situation. I hope that's his last name, child. Derrick Jaxn and his wife and Quavo and Saweetie, and just all the things that have been going on. What do you think about struggle love? What do you think about struggle love being depicted in movies and TV, and things like that? And what is some of the most craziest struggle love that you know about TV and films? Comment that down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll definitely see y'all in my next video. Peace out, y'all.